Hello and welcome to episode number 32 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we
man.
talk all about the hobby that makes us happy. Tabletop gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
And I'm Jim, and today we're talking about should tabletop games be digital?
All right. So, I feel like this is actually a pretty good topic.
Yeah.
There has been, and honestly, this kind of started when, Jim and I are both big gamers, right? We're big video gamers,
Yeah,
right?
I'd say so.
Yeah, and like a lot of the most of the games that I play on my computer, and I mostly play on my computer now, are mostly like strategic card games for the most part. Surprise, right? I was actually been playing Gwent. I played a lot of Gwent.
Yeah.
Over the last weekend.
I saw you log on to that the other
Dude,
day.
I love that game, man. Like that game. I mean, I just remember losing so many hours to that game within The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking when that game came out, when I was playing The Witcher 3, I was like, dude, they did so good with this game. They could just release this game on its own, and they did. And they
made it happen.
Yeah, and it's actually really good. I mean, it's kind of like solitaire. Like it's kind of like each player's playing solitaire. Have you played Gwent?
No, I've never tried
You've never played it? Mm-mm. Did you ever play The Witcher 3?
I own it.
Okay.
I played very little. So from what I've noticed, a lot of people that don't like it or don't play it aren't a fan of the controls. And that was like my reason I did not play it anymore.
I played that game on PS4. Was it PS4 or PS3? I can't remember because it's been a while.
I was doing it on PC, so like the controls were.
So were you
different.
doing keyboard and mouse?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Those kinds of games, it's like it's so much better. I feel like they designed it more so for controllers.
Yeah, probably.
And those kinds of games really are a better experience with controllers, honestly. So yeah, that is one of my favorite games of all time. It is like an amazing RPG. And like I played it on PlayStation, so like I was an achievement hunter, right?
Right.
And so there was one achievement.
They're trophies, Dan.
Yeah. I mean, I say achievements because achievements is like more of a universal term in gaming than trophies are.
Yeah.
Trophies is just so niche to only PlayStation.
Yeah.
Right. And so like you say trophy and they're like, oh, you mean achievement? Because like even on Steam, there are achievements.
Yeah.
It's like everything else on every other platform, it's an achievement except on Sony. They, for whatever reason, did trophies. So, but anyway, so there was one trophy / achievement in that game where like you had to beat like the Gwent tournament in the game, and it was pretty difficult.
Yeah.
I just remember it being difficult, and I was so stoked when I actually won.
Easy.
But I actually never really, when they officially released the Gwent card game, I didn't really get into it at the time. I can't remember what I was doing. But I knew it was a thing and I knew it came out.
Yeah.
And I was pretty excited for it because, it's awesome. And so finally, like I've dabbled in it before in the standalone game, but just this past weekend, I really dove in. I'm like, oh man, I forgot how awesome this game was. And it's good. They did a really good job. But the biggest thing that I came away with that game was it really is like each person is playing solitaire. What probably one of my favorite things about the game is the round system.
Okay.
So you've never played it, right?
No. Never.
So the way it works is in Gwent. So I believe you build a 25 card deck. Okay. And then each player has two different distinct rows: a ranged row, a melee row, which is in front, and then a ranged row, which is in the back. And basically, the entire goal is to have more points than your opponent each round. So you play its best 2 out of 3. So you have to win two rounds out of 3 to win, okay? And so what it does is you draw 10 cards, and you can play 1 card a turn, okay? And so you draw 10 cards in round 1. You basically get 3 mulligans where you can they're partial mulligans. So you can redraw 3 cards.
Gotcha.
Okay. So what you do is you take turns by playing 1 card, and then you can decide to pass. Okay. Once you decide to pass, your turn is over for that round. Okay. And then whoever has the most points at the end of that round wins the round. Okay. And then, so what happens next is whoever wins that round goes to the next round. Now, if you only have 2 cards left in your hand and your opponent has 0, each player draws only 3 cards.
Oh.
So it's basically, there's hand management involved heavily too, because you don't want to overcommit in the early rounds.
Yeah.
Because there's been times where there were games.
Then you got like nothing.
Exactly. You go into round 2 and your opponent, if they played out their whole hand, they're drawing 3 cards. And it's like, I still have 7 cards in my hand. I am in a much better position to win rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest mistakes a lot of new players make is they overcommit in round 1, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I won." No, you actually got to win some more rounds here to actually fully win.
No. So this is what you do, Dan. All right, you just full commit the first round, right?
Yeah.
You completely lose the second one. Just get your hand back for round 3, and then you go ham, right?
But the thing is, like, yes, you're
Well, you only get 6 cards at that point, though. Correct? At max.
at max.
Yeah.
At max. So, because basically what happens is the round is over when both players pass. So if you go into round 2 and you don't even play a card and you just pass, your opponent plays 1 card and then they pass.
And then they can pass.
So then they can pass too.
Right.
So it's a very interesting dynamic, and it's like it's another element which I find is very interesting. Like it's a very unique twist that I enjoy, because it's like it's a whole other level of strategy that you have to think about.
Yeah.
And every time in every single game, I'm counting my cards and I'm counting my opponent's cards to see how many cards they have left.
Good habit.
Yeah. Because it's like, well, I mean, you can keep playing your cards. I am up 2 cards right now.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm totally okay with this. I am fine with losing this to win in the long game.
Right.
So it's very, very interesting. Very cool. So if you haven't yet checked it out, go check out Gwent. It's available on mobile and on the Steam store. So definitely go check it out if you're a fan of card games like we are. So yeah, I mean, I've been playing a lot of Gwent, Legend of Runeterra as normal. Have you been playing anything other than Splinterlands?
So I've been dabbling into another card game called Gods Unchained.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, so it's on the Ethereum blockchain.
Oh, okay.
So it's just another NFT card game. And this game also has the cards have an actual value. So you can buy cards from people, bring it into your game, and then even sell stuff online as well. There are also packs as well.
Yeah.
And this game seems pretty cool. I haven't put any money into it, but leveling up and doing like just playing the game.
Yeah.
They give you a pretty decent amount of rewards as well, and they just give you packs from the start.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I think I got to like level 10 or 11, and they've already given me like 20 packs or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty decent setup.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, so what we're talking about today is essentially, should every tabletop game be digitized? So one of the reasons this came up is, in browsing the Steam store, we come across a lot of games that were like really surprised that they're on there.
One other thing I should add. Gods Unchained is essentially Hearthstone.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
basically
pretty much
Hearthstone on the blockchain.
Yeah, exactly. You have certain characters that are a part of a different element or like faction, and then they each have 3 different abilities. So you can play as magic or mystic, I forget what it's called, and you could essentially be Jaina Proudmoore from Hearthstone and deal a point of damage to any target on your turn.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So it's pretty much the same thing, but it does give you variety of where if you don't want to have that pinging effect, you can actually spend 3 mana to get a random 1 spell. A random 1 spell like not creature, so it's just like instant or sorceries, things along those lines.
Like a magic spell.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Yep. Got it.
So, yeah, pretty cool game.
That's cool. So what I was saying was one of the games that's on there that like I see being advertised a lot is Gloomhaven.
Yes.
Gloomhaven is like, I was like, what in the world is a game like Gloomhaven doing on the Steam digital store?
It works.
So like have you played it digitally?
I haven't yet. I haven't.
Yeah. So Gloomhaven is like, I've actually never played the tabletop board game. But I've never heard a bad thing about Gloomhaven.
Yeah. I mean, it's the #1 game on BGG, I believe. Still.
It's probably it's the #1 game for a reason.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a really, really good experience. I mean, I want to pick it up at some point. It's like $100 at minimum.
Yeah. I was gonna say they came out with a like a prequel to it that gives you more jobs as well. It's like Jaws of Lion or something like that.
Is that a prequel?
I believe so.
So do you need the base box of Gloomhaven to play Jaws of the Lion?
No, it's just straight out of the box.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's fully self-contained.
Yeah. I've been wanting to get it. Like ever since I heard about it, Noah was telling me about it. I'm like, huh. So I enjoyed Gloomhaven, but like this prequel to it, and it's like a little bit more of a tutorial, I guess you could also say.
Okay.
But yeah, the stuff that you get inside this one can lead into base Gloomhaven.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So.
I didn't know that. I mean, I never really looked enough into the game, Jaws of the Lion, to know that much about it. But yeah, ever since I've seen it, Jaws of the Lion, meaning I've been wanting to pick that up too. But yeah, that's good to know that it's a standalone.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, like, so seeing Gloomhaven on the Steam store just like gave me a shock to the system. Because I'm like, what in the world is a game like Gloomhaven doing on there? But there's so many tabletop board games that have a digital version. Yeah. There's the Ticket to Ride games. I mean, obviously there's Monopoly.
Catan's on there.
Catan is on there.
One of my favorites, Root.
Root, yes.
Yeah, that one's a lot of fun.
I finally picked up Root because I haven't played it, the board game version yet. Definitely,
it is a bit complicated, which is
right up my alley. It's asymmetrical, correct?
Yeah.
Which is very. I enjoy games that are asymmetrical, where each faction or character plays a lot differently than all the others. That is a big. I enjoy that. That is something where if I see something's asymmetrical, immediately I'm intrigued. Yeah. So that is one of the big things that intrigued me about Root. There's a lot of expansions for it, which I also need to get.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna say I think there's 4 characters in the base game, and then in each expansion, I want to say there's 2 or 3.
I know in some of the expansions there's 4. I think.
Oh, is there?
I believe. Don't quote me on it.
And there is one faction called the Vagabond. And there's like a bunch of random cards for him. Like some are just better at getting treasure, some are better at attacking, some are better at supporting people. And then it makes it to where every new box gives him more ways to play. So introducing brand new characters into the game, along with changing up how you can play the Vagabond.
All right. So you've played Root on tabletop and digitally?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've played both versions.
Yes.
Okay. So where I kind of want to start first is, what would you say? Okay, if I ask you the question, should every tabletop game be digitized? Ooh, should there be a digital version of every tabletop game?
Honestly, I think so, because having the automated stuff do things for you can kind of, especially if you're brand new to a game, like you're going to forget key things inside of a board game of being like, oh, I didn't even think about this, or I missed this trigger and it was very important on the actual board game, or I didn't get the correct resources. Inside the digital game, since it pretty much automates everything, and sometimes it'll even tell you of like, oh yeah, you can now activate this card, to where if you didn't even think about that card before, having a digitalized game for a beginner, I think is so much better.
So before I answer the question, I kind of want to dig into that a little bit more. I see where you're coming from, and I kind of agree. However, let me play devil's advocate here for a minute. I think that can also be a negative thing too, because when you get into automation, like automation in games, you can have these outcomes, and then the players will have it. They could be like, how in the world did this happen?
Yeah.
So that's a definite issue that could potentially come up.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, if you're playing a game and then you're like, comes to your turn. How in the world did this thing happen? That happens to me a lot. Like when I play Ascension. So I played the Ascension deck building game digitally. Okay. And honestly, if you're not paying attention, because like the automation goes quickly.
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention to see what cards, like if you don't know all the cards, you're like, okay, he played that card, but I have no idea what that card does.
Yeah.
Why am I discarding 3 cards, or why do they have all these points?
Right.
What just happened?
Yeah.
So that's a definite pitfall.
So it's user error at that
Well,
point.
it's not necessarily user error, but like if your goal is learning it, that doesn't help someone learn.
True.
So that kind of goes back to
I guess these games will probably also then just have a tutorial.
Yeah,
and
like
then you just have to play it more and more.
Right. You'd have to have a good tutorial of like you need to know how the game works, and then like if there's cards involved. I mean, anytime there's cards involved, you have to know what the cards do, and the only way you're going to know that is by playing the game and looking at the cards.
Yep.
So. Like it's there's kind of a double-edged sword there. Like the automation, yes, is good, but if your whole reason for playing it is I'm a beginner and I want to learn how to play this game, well then the game should have like a good beefy tutorial of showing you how to play. So like I do agree with you, but I also think that there can be potential pitfalls, and that and that goes into the development of the game.
Yeah. The other thing I was also thinking about as well is, since it's, I mean, if you're playing it online, you don't have to have anyone else there playing the game with you. You just find a random person.
Right. And again, so I kind of want to make this point.
Whenever.
I want to make this point also real quick. It also very much depends on the developer and how they're building the game and how you can play it.
Yeah.
Because like nowadays, with any video game, developers have gotten smart enough to know the market, know the consumers, to where, because pretty much all the consumers nowadays want a game that they can pick up and play with anyone in the world at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
It used to not be like that. It used to be there was only local play available. I mean, this is probably just back when we were younger. Because honestly,
we didn't have the technology for
it. It was definitely a technological issue.
Yeah, because we didn't really get online play. Like you were able to do it on PlayStation 2, but it wasn't nearly as prevalent until I believe Xbox 360.
Yeah, and I think
that's when they made it ridiculously.
I think we talked about this a little bit. I can't remember what topic we were touching on digitization and technology kind of in tabletop somehow. I just can't remember the episode we were talking about it in. But yeah, I remember you talking about that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's like if you're gonna make a video game, because basically that's what all these games are. Like if they're bringing a tabletop game digitally, it's just now a video game.
Yeah.
If you're making a video game that's multiplayer, you better have online multiplayer available right away.
Sure.
So
you need to have a good tutorial. You need to have good versus like AI system as well.
Yep.
And then online play.
Yep. Yeah. So like as long as you have those few things, those like 3 things kind of.
It's like the core.
Yeah, that's basically the core of any multiplayer online game.
Yeah.
So kind of as long as you have those, you're going to be off to a good start. I am drawing like a blank. You were touching on a particular topic. Oh man, my mind just spaced.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah. So okay. So kind of where else were you going with this? Were you going anywhere else with this particularly?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Okay. So yes. So I agree. I basically do agree with everything you were saying. I mean, we talk about those pitfalls, which are basically going to be pitfalls in kind of any video game.
Yeah.
So I'm also on the firm side of yes. I do think okay. So I think there's actually 2 separate discussions. There's should. I guess the question is should every tabletop game be digitized? I mean, I think
probably not.
Well, again, I guess we're gonna have to define how how do we classify a tabletop game, right? I mean, like if you're a board game and a card game, yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Warhammer?
Yeah. Warhammer, D&D.
Yeah, that's a completely different thing.
But like if you have gameplay elements like a board, cards,
how do you put infinite different choices in a D&D game?
You
can't.
Well, no, I mean, I guess they do have a digital version of D&D.
I know
They're
that
called webcams.
Yeah, that's a video game that I could get on Steam.
But I mean, like that's like the only way that you could basically play D&D remotely, because that's basically what you're doing.
Yeah,
is when you're playing any of these games digitally, you're playing the game remotely.
Yeah,
You're essentially like when you're playing online against other players, you're essentially playing the game remotely.
Yeah.
The only difference between you and I sitting down and playing a game of, let's say DC Deck Builder, okay? The only difference between you and me playing DC Deck Builder remotely over webcam and over like Tabletop Simulator is just the interface.
Yeah.
That's all. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
So basically, anytime you're playing a game over webcam with someone, you technically are playing the game digitally. You kind of are.
Yeah.
And so and that's a great thing. Like, I don't want to seem like I'm a purist here and be like, no, the only way you can enjoy these games is, over a table. I will say, however, like here at Hobbies and Happiness, like the reason we're building what we're building is because we do value the time that you are able to spend around a table with your friends and family playing a game.
Yep.
Like that's important to us, and that's why we're doing this, because we love it so much, and we want to share that with our community and share it with our friends and family, and really just grow our business and community over the table.
Yep.
That is what we're doing, and we value that. However, I don't think playing these games over a table is the only way you can have these experiences and enjoy these games.
Yeah, it's just a different kind of experience.
Yes, exactly. It is a different kind of experience. I mean, I guess I will say what I will say is, defining that even a little further, playing these games over the table is the only way you're going to have that experience over the table.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Playing the game, but however, playing the game over a table is not the only way you can enjoy playing the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can play the game. If your whole goal, if all you want to do is just play the game, you're living in the best time known to man right now. Is you can sit down at the table, you can play it. You can get out your webcam and you can play it with someone on the other side of the world over a webcam.
Yep.
Or you can take out the digital version and play it that way.
Yeah.
Again, and we've said this a lot too, you have to go back to what is your purpose and what is your goal? Like, what are you trying to get out of it?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, as far as should these games be digitized? Yes. I 100% think they should. Because if they're not, I mean, for one, you're losing out on potential business. I think, I mean, and that's coming at it from a pure business standpoint, right?
Yeah.
But also, you're also missing out on these experiences that you are able to then share with other people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and then we also talk about it from the standpoint of playtesting. Like, playtesting is a thing, and it's more than playtesting too, right?
Yes.
It also goes back to designing. Okay. Now let's bring COVID into the mix, right? If you are designing this game, if we were to design a game right now, you and me sitting here at this table.
Okay.
We were to design this game. We're trying to figure out how to make this game work. We're sitting here, and then you and I are testing it. But now we need to get other people to also test the game too and try out some various interactions. If we didn't have the technology at our disposal, we'd be screwed.
Yeah.
It would be very difficult to design a game and work out all of the kinks that would come up.
broken interactions between things that we just don't come across.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, you think about like even with Magic the Gathering. So they have a really big playtesting group, but there's so many cards that will just sneak by the playtest, and then people are like, how did this card get printed? How did no one notice this? But it was really only one guy out of like 10 million people on Reddit who noticed this one thing. It's like, well, that's how it got, just skipped over, because only less than 100% of people notice this thing.
Well, and it's also more than noticed it too.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the next set coming out for Magic is Innistrad Crimson Vow, I believe. So we're in the middle of spoiler season right now. And I think there's like...
We're always in the middle of spoilers.
Yeah, that's true. It does seem like that. Especially now, because it's like every set they're doing like Commander releases too. It's like...
They're like,
it's
set
crazy,
drops,
man.
Right? 2 weeks go by and they're like, oh, here's the next Commander set. Here's a random leaked card.
So
and they're
crazy.
like, in a week, we're going to be starting the next spoiler season.
But you know what? As a publisher of a card game, like you have to be doing that, or else your game is going to die.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I'm like, is Magic gonna die? I don't know.
It could. It could potentially. But the thing is too, like the moment a card game dies is the moment the publisher stops getting money from sales of the game. Right. Basically.
Right.
The moment they stop printing product, they're done printing money, basically.
Yeah.
They're not printing money, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, they are printing money. These cards are money.
Yes. Yeah. But like I said, that's why I said, you know what I mean.
Yeah. I get you. It's not the Federal Reserve.
Right. But they can print. Nope. We're not going to go there. Caught myself.
Sometimes you just got to poke a little bit,
Yeah.
Just prod.
Oh my goodness.
Thanks, anyway. Obama.
Yeah.
Not even close to Obama's fault.
Oh man. Anyway. So what were we talking about?
I don't know. Spoiler season.
Yeah, spoiler season. I don't know how we got into talking about that.
Back to the main topic.
Yeah.
What was our topic again? Digital board games.
Yeah. Making all these games digital.
Yeah.
Like outside of the downfall that I talked to you about learning the game and then not learning the game as well as you should.
Yeah.
Like what I'm trying to even come up with some other downsides to having these games digital. Like I can't even think of other negatives of having these games digital.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Like, I'm being genuinely honest here. I can't even think.
The only downside, you got to like buy it again.
Yeah. I mean, outside of a financial downfall, which is going to be minimal, most likely, unless it's a TCG.
But like if you love the game, it's not really a problem to you to just like buy the stuff online either.
Yeah, right. Like, is Root $20 to buy on Steam?
Yeah, something like that.
It's probably cheap to get on Steam.
I think I got it on sale. It's like $10 or something.
I buy everything on sale on Steam. Yeah. There's no reason to buy anything at full price on Steam.
Yeah.
Unless you want it the moment it comes out.
Sure.
That's like it.
And depending on how good the game is, it won't go on sale for a while. But if it's bad, they're like, oh, it's on sale 50 off a month later.
Yep, exactly. So many, dude, there's been so many games that are like 40, 50, 60 bucks that I've paid like $5 for.
Yeah. I remember
80% off. Oh, don't mind if I do.
Yeah. I was going to say there was an MMO called Black Desert Online. It was like $40, something like that. It went on sale recently after it was released to go to like $10. Yeah.
I bought a bunch of games this past weekend, but all the games are like $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like,
yeah, they're having a huge sale.
Yeah, it's like a Halloween sale right now.
Yeah.
But Steam is always having
Yeah.
big sales. They're
Sure.
always having big sales.
That's how they get you.
Exactly. So yeah, if you're a PC player and you have Steam, don't buy anything full price, man. Just don't do it. Seriously, I guarantee you it will go on sale. I guarantee you that game will go on sale at some point. There's plenty of other games that you can play. You probably have a couple hundred other games in your collection that you could play right now.
Staring at my Steam library of like 150 games, I'm like, I have nothing to play.
150 games. That's
Yeah,
it.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Dude, my library is like 550.
I don't play a lot on Steam because like the MMOs I play are just all like not on Steam.
They've got like their own clients and stuff.
Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
We have Blizzard stuff. I mean, all the Blizzard stuff
All
are
the
on their own
Blizzard
clients.
stuff's on their own client.
Yeah.
Riot is all on their own client.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like
I go to Steam when I'm really bored.
yeah. But there's a lot of really great stuff.
Oh yeah.
A lot of really great stuff.
A lot of like really good single player games are on there.
There's so many good card games on Steam. So many good card games on Steam. I just picked up a couple more. I can't remember what the names of them are, but they were again like a couple of bucks because I got them on sale for like 90% off. And they were all really good reviews too. So I'm looking forward to getting into those. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. I honestly cannot think of a legitimate negative or downfall to having these games on a digital platform.
Yeah.
There's really no bad thing.
Gets more people into it.
Well, the only negative thing would be if it was done poorly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and that's always gonna be a negative. That will always be a negative for all time if something is done poorly.
Yeah.
But as a general rule, like on just a general level, I really do not think that there is a negative thing about having these games on a digital platform. Like if it makes sense, like if it makes sense to have it on a digital platform, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Like the moment when it starts getting dicey is if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, so I can't speak to Gloomhaven because I've never played Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it makes sense to have a game like Gloomhaven on a digital platform.
From what I've seen and heard, I know two people that have it. They really enjoy it.
Okay, but
one of them even owns the actual board game.
But let me ask you, because you've played Gloomhaven on a table.
Yeah.
Would it make sense to have that experience on a digital platform?
Yeah, it would.
It would?
Because like, so how it works is like you're just running into these random rooms in a dungeon and different floors, and you're just killing monsters or creatures or the enemy, whatever it really is. And on the tabletop, you have a deck of cards. It's more of like a modifier of things, which is like a random chance of like adding damage, subtracting damage, like crits and stuff like that. But then you also have a deck of cards that tells you your abilities that you're supposed to be using. So, I mean, putting that inside of an actual like video game, I mean, it's not like the first time this has been a thing of like an RPG, and then you just deciding which abilities that you can use,
right,
and managing your resources. So yeah, I think it makes perfect sense to put it into an actual video game.
Okay. It's just, I cannot speak to it because I've never played it.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I would probably enjoy it more on the video game aspect, so I should probably pick the game up. But in tabletop, or the game is just really difficult, I think.
Oh, is it?
So you do have to have like the correct team comp in order to do something or to progress farther, it seems like. But if you just wanted to play like your favorite characters, I mean, unless it's quote unquote meta, you're probably not going to get far. So you do have to have like a more front line, like a support, range damage dealers, stuff along those lines.
Yeah. So I mean, if we think about this conversation even a little bit farther, I mean, we could really kind of break it down into a discussion of genres or game types. So like worker placement games, those would be very easy to make into digital versions because that's very simple. You have a set number. You have a set actions that you can take.
Yeah.
So you can have your workers put them on any number of different spaces, and on each space, you perform a certain action. Like so, from a standpoint of like simplicity, I guess, like that makes perfect sense and would translate easily into a digital version.
Yeah. Card games.
Yeah, card games are another one. I mean, we've got
Hands
Magic.
down,
You've got so many games. Like I see
Yu-Gi-Oh,
Here to Slay over there.
Yeah.
Very, very simple to make a game like that into a digital version. Like literally every game that we play.
Ascension's already on
Ascension's
there.
on there. Dominion is
Star
now.
Realms already
Dominion
on
is
there.
on there. Hero Realms, Star Realms, all of those. Pretty much every card game where all the information is just on the cards. Very, very simple to turn a game like that into a digital version. Yeah. So we talked about worker placement. I mean, dice placement is another one that would be, again, simple because, again, all you're doing is you're rolling your dice.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just a randomized thing and then determining what you're going to do with your dice. Right.
Yeah.
So the only type of game that it would be difficult to port over into a digital version would be RPG elements. So any game to where there's a lot of talking between the team or members and then determining what you're going to do. Like if the game is non-linear, that's going to be hard to kind of port over into a digital version. So like we talk D&D, but any RPG game would be a little bit different. Would be a little difficult.
So they did actually recently make Baldur's Gate 3 on PC. So it's pretty much like D&D inside of a video game, but you do have the customization. You have a lot of different choices that you can do.
Right.
But there's not that infinite thing that
that's
you
the thing.
have.
Immediately when I said RPG, there's probably people listening who are like, "What are you talking about? There's a ton of RPG video games." Yes, I know RPG video games are a thing, and I love RPG video games. But the thing with those RPG video games is like there's literally not an infinite. There's not an infinite number of ways that you can. Go through.
You have the dialogue that they give you, or you can either skip them or kill them. Like,
correct.
You really only have 5, or depending on the choices that they give you.
That's the thing is you are bound to the options that they give you.
Yeah.
Like it's basically you. I mean, if you've ever played an RPG, okay, we'll talk about Witcher 3. If you played Witcher 3, you go up and talk to the King of Nilfgaard or whatever. It's okay. He says something to you. Okay, which of the 5 responses are you going to try and give them?
Yeah,
like that. That's it.
And there are some video games out there as well that, depending on the actions you take, changes up the outcome of the end game as well.
Yeah.
Which is definitely a nice little thing, so it doesn't just railroad you to the exact same ending every single time.
Right.
So you could change up how it works.
Yes.
But yeah, a lot of these RPG video games, it's very linear as to really what you can do.
Right. And honestly, if it's not linear, like if it's not linear when you're like in the middle of that scenario, in the middle of that situation, because I mean, I've been in plenty of situations to where like when you're in the heat of it, it does not seem like what's going on is linear.
Yeah.
But like if you then zoom out and then like look at the 30,000 foot view of the entire game, you'll see, okay, yeah, it's pretty much, it's pretty linear of what's going on there.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, right? Of like in D&D, you could be like, oh yeah, I'm going on the quest for this mad mage, going into the dungeon, blah blah blah. We're supposed to get to the bottom, kill a lot of stuff, explore, get loot. But then, what if you want to start a business with people? People you were supposed to kill, you talked to them and you were like, yeah, we're not going to kill you. But in fact, let's try to make something happen on this floor. Let's open up a tavern on the 4th floor. I don't know if you can own a business in Witcher. In Final Fantasy normal RPGs.
No, dude.
No, you can't.
No. Like, you can't. Yeah. And like, and that's why, like, with The Witcher 3, that's why them putting a game like Gwent in there was so like I felt like it was so revolutionary.
Yeah.
Because like they legitimately put a fully fledged game within that game. But if you wanted to, like if you're sitting down and playing D&D, you are more than free to do that.
Which now that I'm also thinking about it, in MMORPGs, you can become a crafter. You can set up your own business, controlling the market, essentially.
You can.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, I'm producing the best food at the lowest cost. People pretty much only come to me for food. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But those are different games.
I do not. I honestly, realistically, do not see any downside to these game developers making their game digital. It can only help them while developing the game, right? And then it can only help them in the long run gain a larger player base.
Are there Kickstarters? Well, I guess going into the future, they could do this as well. Have their game, but then also have a digital version of it, part of the Kickstarter,
like Hero Realms.
Yeah,
Hero Realms right now, and Hero Realms and Star Realms have been out for a while, right? But I think normally like they kind of develop them separately.
Yeah.
So the Hero Realms Kickstarter for their digital version, I think included maybe it was a couple of months ago.
Okay.
But Hero Realms has been out for a while, and I know that Wise Wizard Games, I know they're actually doing a lot on their digital front of trying to make all of their games like really good digitally.
Yeah.
So, because I know they've had Star Realms digital for a while, they haven't had Hero Realms, so they brought Hero Realms to digital, and it works really well. But that's another one where we were talking about if you don't know what's going on, it's very easy to get overwhelmed and like
the deck builders can be quick.
Yeah, it's very quick, and so again, if you don't know the cards, you don't know what's going on. What helps with those is having like a turn counter, so you can see what happened turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 3. You can look and see what happened in the past turns to say, okay, they played this card, it had this effect, and this was the outcome.
Yeah.
Those are extremely helpful in any card game. Any digital card game is extremely helpful. There's one thing I wish we could have in like real life card games. Like go back and see, okay, this happened turn 5, here's what happened turn 4, and so on and so forth.
It's called the graveyard, and just use your memory. That's how you get this.
Or you just record it on a camera and then just play it back. That's like that's it.
You can get an instant replay of what happened.
Yeah, and that's one of the nice things like about creating content, like the kind of content we're creating. It's like we have an amazing time. Like the last DC deck building game video that was published about a week ago, I think. That game was so much fun. That game was crazy.
I was going to say, that was the Zatanna and
that was the Zatanna Wonder Woman game. Yeah, that game was crazy. So I remember playing the game, and it was like, oh man, I was like so tense that entire game because I'm like, oh man, this is going to be so close, so close.
Yeah, it was really close.
It was really close, and that was some of the most fun I've had playing DC deck building game. It was a lot of fun. So just being able to play that back and watch it again is so cool. And again, that goes to technology, right? And how far technology has advanced. So like having that ability is so cool. So like from a developer standpoint or a designer, like it can only help you. There's like no downside.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other downside that I can see, like, and when I say that, when I say no downside, I mean like in the end, like
Yeah.
the end goal.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are downsides.
Short term, you're splitting resources.
And not
for
even necessarily
stuff, but-
splitting, because I mean, let's say you develop them separately, okay?
Yeah.
There's obviously an inherent sunk cost in
Yeah.
I have to pay this money, I have to take all this time and resources.
Yeah.
Yes, it does take time and resources, right? But I mean, those are more of an investment versus like a waste, right? So it's an investment leading into what you're getting in the back end.
Long term, it is the right choice, I would think.
I would think so too. Because like a lot of these games that I enjoy playing over the table, if there's a digital version, I enjoy playing the digital version too.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, there's also different dynamic too, because like if I'm playing it in person, like I enjoy the time that we're having around the table playing it and the repartee that we're having with one another. You definitely lose that, right, when you're playing the game digitally and there's no chat function or anything like that. But if you love playing the game and you want to get better at the game, then like that's what you're doing. Because that's like the thing too. Like if you're wanting to get better, like from a competitive standpoint, you're going to play the game a lot.
Yeah.
And what's so funny?
No, I was just thinking about like a summary of of this whole podcast. Should companies do this? Short answer, yes. Long answer, the podcast.
Yeah, well, right. I feel like that was like our last conversation too, where initially we're just like, yes, and here's why.
Yeah.
Because like I'm honestly trying to think and come up with any reason why this is a bad thing.
Let us know. Are you guys a game developer out there?
Yeah, like if you're a designer or publisher, like what are the outside of the resource costs, like of how much time and effort need to be put into this?
Yeah.
Like, is it worth it in the end? Because that is a thing that that the designers and publishers honestly have to keep in mind. Like, are they going to recoup the money that they put into making this a reality?
Yeah.
Right. And so like for games that are strategic, the games that are strategic, I feel like have a higher likelihood of recouping that investment than games that are not, for the most part.
Right.
Like that's just what I would think. That's what I would think would happen. Because why are you playing? I feel like you're gonna have more reasons to play these games, these strategic games, than any other games, based purely on a standpoint of you're playing them because you want to get better for some event, or there's like a tournament or something. There's more reasons to play these games to get better.
And you'll probably have like a lot more variety of outcomes as well. So like if there's like 7 different factions that you could be playing in these games, well then, I mean, especially if it's like a card or a card game, then you have a lot of different variants on the deck itself.
Yes. Get replayability. Like replayability is huge.
Yeah.
In any game, right? I mean, can you imagine? Okay, yeah, we have Mousetrap. We do have that video game. Okay, but every game of Mousetrap is basically going to be the same. And I'm using Mousetrap as a stand-in for any game to where there's a board and all you're doing is going around said board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like Candyland. Okay, we start here and we go to the end. Okay, that's like all you're doing.
There are statistically speaking, there are the better moves that you could also be doing in Monopoly as well.
Yes.
So like going for specific
Don't
things.
you dare say something bad about Monopoly, Jim. Okay? I don't want to hear it.
Statistically speaking,
don't want to hear it.
There's better choices.
Well, hang on. What are you saying though?
So, all right. So you know how that there's there's 10 spaces on each side of the board, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
So then we also then have to take into account the dice roll.
Yes.
So going on average rolls here, you're aiming for around the 7, 8, 6 mark for spaces.
But hang on. There's one dice, right?
No, there's 2 because you can roll doubles.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
In Monopoly Junior, there's only 1 die.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So, yeah. And
It's been a while since I played Monopoly.
so, yeah, like then going purely based off
Hang
of
on.
the average of dice
Speaking
roll.
of Monopoly, how many of you listening, if you've got Monopoly in your house, does someone say, "Hey, let's play Monopoly"? And normally the response is, "Oh." There's always one person who's like, "I really want to play Monopoly," and then literally every other person just goes, "I don't know. I know." Let us know.
You don't know. I'm thinking about it. I think Monopoly was one of the first like board games to be digitized.
I remember playing Monopoly on the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, I had it on Sega, and I also recently bought it for Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on
Sega
original.
Genesis and Super Nintendo are roughly the same age. They came out right around the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely remember. And I played the heck out of Monopoly on the Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
I can still remember how it looked and everything, dude.
Yeah. Me too, because I played it like a month ago.
All right, so what you were saying about the spaces and there's 2 dice?
Yeah, so I mean, we're talking about the average on the dice roll. 6, 7, 8s. Then you want to for sure be picking up the properties that are around those number points. So
I don't know. Hang on though, because I don't know if I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment you don't roll a 6, 7, or an 8,
Mm-hmm.
then you're off of that rotation. You know what I mean?
Well, kind of, I would say.
I mean, I
Because,
guess
once if you roll higher, you can also roll lower, which averaging out puts you back onto that 6, 7, 8 marker.
Yeah, it's just you're really banking heavy onto the averages, really evening out to those 3 spots.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess. I mean, it makes sense. Like, in theory, it makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And just make sure you buy orange and reds. That's really all you got to aim for.
Orange and reds.
Yeah, the orange and red properties.
Yeah,
they're so
those
good.
are the ones. Yeah, yeah. Don't just go for Boardwalk and Park Place. Nobody's ever gonna get on those.
Yeah, it's very rare. But when they do hit it,
it's big
man,
money.
It's so messed
big
up.
money.
You're like, you now owe me $5,000. You're like, I don't have $5,000.
Well, I will take the keys to your car.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So let us know. First of all, I honestly want to know. Let us know. Are you the person in your household who says let's play Monopoly, or are you the other person who just groans and moans when playing that game is brought up? Let us know.
I definitely don't bring up playing Monopoly.
Yeah. All right. So before we've got a couple things here. First thing, if you are listening to us on any podcast platform, do us a favor, leave us a review. Leave us a 5-star review if you could. We'd greatly appreciate it. We want to get this podcast out to more people, and the more reviews that we have and 5-star reviews, the easier it will be to get this podcast out to more people listening in all parts of the world.
Or if you don't think we deserve a 5-star rating, let us know what we could do better.
Yes, exactly. 100%. Regardless, leave us a review. We would greatly appreciate it. Check out our YouTube channel where we post all of our video content. We are also on Facebook. Speaking of Facebook, something happened on Facebook probably 2 weeks ago or so. I discovered that there are podcasts on Facebook that you can access on your mobile device.
Wow.
I was very interested to find that out, so I immediately, and I think it's a relatively new feature. So Facebook is now a platform for our podcasts. So
Cool.
you can check this podcast out on the Facebook app, apparently. So
I'm
that's
like, did
kind
I
of
know
cool.
we were on there?
I don't know. It was totally random the other day that I noticed. So that is just another option. But the thing that I did notice is you can only see it on mobile, on the mobile version of Facebook, and not the
that's why I don't
desktop,
know.
not on the desktop. So hopefully they change that in the future. Excuse me. I think they would.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't.
Yeah. So, also just check us out on pretty much every other social media platform. We're pretty much live on just about all of them. Really trying to up our media and social media game for you all. All right. So I know last week we talked about game stories, your gaming stories.
Man, we got a story over there?
So we've got an older one that we kind of skipped over and we didn't read, I believe.
Okay.
So before we get into it, if anybody has a story of honestly just like a good time that you had around the table with some of your friends or family,
a bad time,
or a bad time, we enjoy reading those. If you just shoot us an email, you can hit us up on via email at hobbiesandhappiness@gmail.com. Again, wherever you're listening to this, if you check out the description of the podcast, you will see links, pretty much all of our social media links, and our email will be listed there. So just shoot us an email, and just in the subject heading, you can just put game story, and we will definitely read that and read it here on the show.
Yes.
All right. So this is a relatively older email from a friend of the show, Drew, our friend Drew.
All right.
So this is one that I kind of this was in an email with two stories, and I think we just read one.
Oh, okay.
All right.
That makes sense.
So here we go. All right. So for a second story, a more lighthearted story of truly epic silliness to cheer up a sad tale as that. And the tale before it was really
Yeah, I remember this
really,
other
really
one. It was
sad.
the Final Fantasy one.
Yeah. The whole don't be that guy. That was really bad. All right, here we go. All right, so as I've DM'd, I've had players who wanted to do silly things throughout the campaign. These silly things have not resulted in deaths, but have resulted in loss of hit points. One such player had decided he wanted to take his hand at DMing. So a player wanted basically to be the dungeon master and kind of control what was going on in the campaign. And I joined his campaign, but I warned him the silly things he asks to do, I will be asking for, maybe even in tenfold. Ooh, wow, tenfold. That's
a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot there, Drew. That being said, I had played one of my favorite characters, a storm sorcerer. We had gone through a dungeon and found a room of air elementals. I had told the group to wait a moment before attempting to fight them, for I could speak their language. Through rolls of diplomacy and persuasion, all but one of them were convinced to ignore us and let us pass. The one who remained, I had actually befriended and followed me. Not only did I have an air elemental companion, I had discovered that I could mount the elemental and take flight. I now had a flying storm sorcerer, gaining advantage on all of his spells. While this isn't a rule in the book, the DM had agreed that spells would count as weapons. I had decided to multi-class into rogue, and while gaining advantage by flying in an elemental, I had also been getting sneak attack damage. This had been a fun campaign to go through.
Oh my goodness.
This
is why spells don't count as weapons.
That is funny. Oh man, thanks to Drew for that story. That was a good one. Definitely way better than that other one in the email of the that player who just totally just threw.
I don't know. I love that story.
It is a good story, but like the outcome is just, oh man,
it's sad.
it's a feel bad. It's a feels bad
Yeah.
for those in that moment, definitely. All right, so that's the show for today. Jimbo, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jim Morgan, HNH.
You can find me on Twitter at _DJ Campbell and Instagram at Daniel.G.Campbell. That's all I got for you for today. We'll check us out. Come back in a week and we will talk about, I think we're probably going to be talking, we kind of got our topic kind of picked out. Kind of still on the digital topic. Kind of going to be part 2.
We can spoil it.
Yeah.
We can spoil it.
Yeah, so we're gonna and you know what? Here's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
We'll spoil it, but then we're gonna ask you what you guys think about here. All right. So what we're gonna talk about next week is video games that would be good board games.
Yes.
So this kind of came out of, there was not that long ago. Oh man, what's the game? I have it. It was Nintendo Switch. It was made by Concerned Ape. One guy. Oh goodness, you got to give me a second here. This is going to kill me.
You said it's on the Switch?
It was on the Switch. It came to Switch. Goodness, like it was big on Steam on PC before it got ported over. There we go. Stardew Valley.
Oh,
there we go.
Okay, yeah.
So they made Stardew Valley into a board game. It got sold out like so quick. I still need to pick up a copy. Don't know how I'm going to get a copy of the game, but I definitely want to get a copy. But anyway, that game, Stardew Valley, has been ported into a board game.
Okay.
So I thought, what other video games would make good board game experiences? So we're kind of going to talk about that next week. So if you have any ideas of successful, unsuccessful, or good ideas of video games that could be ported over into board games, let us know. Yes. Shoot us an email, hit us up on any social media platform, and we will take your ideas into the next show, and we'll read them, and we'll kind of give our ideas and just kind of see where the conversation leads.
Yep.
So that's what we got for next week. So thanks everybody for being here, and we will catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.